Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down Italian VAT, or IVA as it's known. If you've ever been in Italy, looked at a receipt, and just wondered, what is this IVA thing and what's it doing to my bill? Well, you are in exactly the right place.
Yeah, it's a super common situation, right? You're there, you've had a great meal, you get the bill, and you see those three letters, IVA. Then there's a number next to it. So what does that actually mean for the total you're paying? Let's figure it out.
Okay, so IVA stands for Imposta sul Valore Aggiunto. That's a mouthful, I know, but it's just Italy's value-added tax. Think of it like a consumption tax that gets added to most things you buy, whether it's goods or services. Now, businesses are the ones who collect it along the way, but at the end of the day, it's us, the final consumer, who pays for it in the price tag.
All right, so to really understand what you're being charged in Italy, you've got to know that there aren't just one, but four different IVA rates, and each one is for a different type of stuff you might buy.
And here they are, laid out for you. You can see it's not just a single flat tax. Italy's got this tiered system. There's the main, standard rate for most things, but then there are three lower rates. And the whole idea behind those is to make the really essential stuff a bit more affordable for everyone.
So let's start with the big one, the one you'll see most often. That's the standard 22% rate. This is pretty much your go-to tax for almost everything. Think electronics, new clothes, even professional services. It's the default.
Next up, we've got a reduced rate of 10%. Now, this one is all about tourism and hospitality, so when you're dining out or checking into a hotel, this is the rate you can expect to see on your bill. Okay, dropping down even further, we get to 5%. This one's for some very specific things, like certain types of food. And here's a cool little tidbit for all you art lovers out there. Starting in 2025, this 5% rate is also going to apply to art and collectibles. Pretty neat, huh?
And last but not least, we have the super reduced rate, just 4%. This one is reserved for the absolute basics, the real necessities. We're talking bread, milk, but also things that are considered cultural necessities, like books and newspapers. The idea is to make them as accessible as possible.
All right, enough with the theory. Let's get practical. How do you actually calculate this stuff? We're going to look at two super simple formulas. One for adding the tax onto a price, and another for figuring out how much tax is already in a price. Okay, adding VAT is basically a three-step recipe. First, you start with the net price. That's the price before tax. Step 2, you figure out the VAT amount by multiplying that net price by the right percentage. And finally, step 3, you just add that tax amount back to the net price. Boom. That's your gross price, the total you actually pay. But hang on, what if you want to go the other way? Let's say you're looking at a final price and you're curious, how much of this was actually tax? Well, there's a handy little formula for that too. It lets you work backward and pull out the exact VAT amount from that total price.
Okay, time to put these formulas to the test. Let's run through a few real-world examples. Things you might actually buy if you were in Italy.
First up, let's imagine you're buying a new laptop in Milan. The price before tax, the net price, is 500 euros. Now, since it's electronics, we know right away that it's going to get hit with that standard 22% rate. So the question is, what's the final damage?
And the math is actually pretty simple. 22% of 500 euros is exactly 110 euros. So you take that 110 in tax, add it to the original 500, and your grand total comes out to 610 euros. All right, example number 2. You've just had a fantastic meal at a restaurant. Let's say the cost of the food itself, the net price, is 40 euros. Now remember, restaurants get that reduced 10% rate. This one's even easier. 10% of 40 euros is just 4 euros. So that 40 euro meal becomes a 44 euro bill at the end of the night. Simple as that. Okay, let's go smaller. Imagine you're at a vibrant Italian market and you're picking up some fresh basil for a homemade pesto. The cost is 20 euros. Since it's a specific food item, it qualifies for that 5% rate. Again, super easy math. 5% of 20 euros is just 1 single euro. Add that on, and your total for the basil is 21 euros. And for our last one, let's say you wander into a local bookstore and find a book you want. The net price is 15 euros. And because it's a book, a cultural item, it gets that sweet, super reduced rate of only 4%. So the VAT on this is tiny. It's just 60 cents. You add that to the 15 euros, and the total you pay is 15 euros and 60 cents. See? Not so scary when you break it down.
Okay, so knowing the rates and doing the math, that's really the biggest piece of the puzzle.
Now let's wrap up with a few final, really important details, some pro tips for navigating IVA like a champ.
So, here's what you really need to remember. First, your invoice should always break everything down: the net price, the VAT rate, the VAT amount, and the final total. A lot of this is electronic now, which is pretty standard in Italy. And for businesses, they have to register for VAT once they hit a certain income level. But for all you tourists listening, this last one is for you. This is huge. If you make a purchase over €154.94, you can actually claim that VAT back through the tax-free scheme. Seriously, don't leave that money behind.
And there you have it. You've cracked the code. So now, the next time you get a receipt in Italy, you can look at it with total confidence. You'll know what's what and exactly what you're paying for. Pretty powerful, right?